Our YES program is one of our favorites. It's a large program where eligible high school students from the West Bank, from Gaza, from Jerusalem, are able to study in the United States for almost a full academic year, living with a host family. And we've seen, and I'm looking at Sylvia because she's going to nod her head and agree with me, that students that go on this experience, they leave with one view of the world and they come back with the same view, but also a broader and expanded perspective as well. And so it's really special for us to see the impact that these exchanges have. And it's not just good for Palestinian students, it's amazing for American students to have that experience, to learn about Palestinian culture, about your homes, about your society, and the richness of Palestinian life. So it's a two-way street. The second group here are programs for educators and academics, meaning teachers or school administrators. Not only do we support student exchange programs, but teacher exchanges as well. But I don't think we have many teachers in the room right now, so I'm going to move on to our last one, which is our programs for professionals as well. And so if you could take anything away from this slide, I want you to know that no matter where you are in life, whether you're in high school or beyond, there's probably a program that meets your interests and needs and background. And so I hope you'll consider following our Facebook pages and introducing yourselves to me and to my colleagues so that we can align you and direct you in the right direction. So hopefully there's an opportunity for you to consider applying and participating in. That is my little discussion about US government exchange opportunities. I'm going to turn it back to my amazing, and I really do mean amazing, Amid East colleagues who run a fabulous program, EducationUSA, to talk about beyond the US government, all the different ways and mechanisms for you to consider studying in the United States. So thank you. When the program is over, those of you who are here in person, come find me and introduce yourselves. I want to meet you. And those online, please do reach out as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Marwa.
I am the EducationUSA Advising Assistant. Sana and I are the EducationUSA West Bank Advising Team. And our colleague Akram al-Baghdadi is the EducationUSA Advisor for Gaza. And we are all based at the Amid East offices in Ramallah and Gaza as well. And today I would like to tell you about EducationUSA, our mission and our services, and the 5 steps to US study. So EducationUSA is a US Department of State network of over 475 centers in 175 countries and territories. And our mission is to promote US higher education to students who are interested in applying to US universities and colleges. Of course, we work closely with high school counselors, high school teachers, US higher education institution representatives, and parents as well. And of course, our services are for free. We usually have in-center sessions, outreach sessions, and virtual webinars. Because of the global pandemic, we have been working virtually since March of 2020, but hopefully we will begin resuming some of our face-to-face sessions. And so as you can see here from the pictures, these are some of our sessions and outreach sessions that we had in the past few years. We usually have group sessions where we discuss different topics related to the application process. We have individual consultations, pre-departure orientations, and special topic sessions as well. Of course, we visit different local high schools and universities and youth centers to talk to them about the opportunities to study in the United States. And we also have different college fairs, and whenever possible, we participate in cultural and educational events. We had in the past few years also the opportunity to welcome US university representatives who like to meet students just like you, parents and counselors, so they can talk to them about attending and applying to their respective institutions. And of course, because of the global pandemic, we have been communicating and connecting with students, parents, and counselors through virtual sessions just like today's session. So the 5 steps to US study is basically your guide, whether you want to apply for an undergraduate program or graduate program, or maybe for a short course. You should follow these 5 steps so you can have a clear plan when you want to apply to a specific program. And so the first step is to research your options. It is very important for you as a student to learn about the different options available to you. There are over 4,000 accredited US higher education institutions, and you need to select the best fit universities and colleges based on your priorities. Of course, your priorities will differ from other people. You want to think about, for example, your major. What do you want to study? The institution that you want to apply to. Do you want to attend a private university, a public university, or a community college? Do you want to, where do you want to live? You want to think about the location, the weather, the campus environment. So there are different things that you need to think of when you want to select your list of universities. Of course, there are different search engines that you can use to filter your options. The second step, to finance your studies, you need to understand the total cost of attendance at an American university or college. Again, this will differ from one university to another and also from one location to another. So you need to understand that the total cost of attendance will include tuition and fees, room and board, personal expenses, supplies and materials, and other things as well. Of course, you need to look at the different special aid opportunities and scholarships that will be offered through different US institutions, and they will share that information on their official websites. The third step is to complete your application. You need to work on the different requirements that you will be required to submit in your application. Of course, the requirements will differ from one program to another, from one university to another, and it will also depend on the level of study that you want to pursue. And so it is very important for you to prepare yourself for these requirements ahead of time, so you can have enough time to prepare for the different requirements, like writing your personal statement, working on, asking for recommendation letters from your teachers, your employers, or counselors. Also, you need to work on preparing yourself for different standardized exams. And so the earlier you begin with preparing yourself, the more time you have to work on your application folder. The fourth step is to apply for your student visa. There are different steps that you need to go through, of course, after you accept an offer from a certain university or college. And we will have a special session on the student visa during International Education Week events. We will have one this Friday and another one next week on Tuesday. The fifth and final step is to prepare for your departure. When you want to travel to the United States, you want to work on some arrangements. For example, you need to communicate with your respective university or college to finalize some things like your housing option, for example. And so you can find detailed information about the 5 steps to US study on the EducationUSA website, which is educationusa.state.gov. And the information will be divided according to the level of study you want to pursue. So we'll have different sections like undergraduate study, graduate study, community colleges, English as a second language, short programs, and online programs as well. And you will find so much information, resources, and websites related to the 5 steps to US study. We also have a section where universities and colleges can share their financial aid opportunities for international students as well. So as Sana and Ali have mentioned, we will also share with you some information about some of the programs that you can actually apply to. The first one is the Competitive College Club, which is a cohort advising for high school students just like you who are in grade 10 and 11, and those who are interested in applying to US universities and colleges. This program is available to students in the West Bank and Jerusalem, and we usually have regular meetings, and we have group meetings, individual consultations where we go through all of these steps so you can prepare yourself for the different requirements. And now I will hand it over to my colleague, Akram al-Baghdadi, so he can also talk to you about some of the other programs and opportunities. Akram?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. Welcome to our International Education Week, and we need to continue this presentation talking about the Hope Fund program. I'm not sure if you are aware of this program, but this program is administered by Amedist, and it provides assistance to the students who plan to pursue their graduate degree in the United States. And we select talented Palestinian students who live in West Bank, Jerusalem, and Gaza, and also Palestinian students from Lebanon and Jordan, particularly from the refugee camps. And we prepare them to be to apply for different universities and colleges in the United States. And in this preparing process, we give them English language training, and we give them test prep courses. For example, we give them training on TOEFL, IBT courses, and SAT courses. We also work with them step by step in their application and their essays, and we prepare them to be competitive applicants who can apply to different colleges and universities in the United States, especially the elite schools. And for example, every year we send different students to top universities in the United States, like MIT, Stanford, Harvard, and other colleges as well. And we work with this group while they are in grade 10 and 11th. And we are going to announce about this scholarship soon, maybe by the end of this month, by the end of November. So if you are interested to be part of this program, please follow, just follow our social media pages like EducationUSA West Bank and EducationUSA Gaza on Facebook, and at amedist.org as well. And you will get all the information about the application process and the announcement about this program. And this year, every year we send a good group of students, either from West Bank and Gaza, also from Jerusalem as well. For example, this year we sent about 17 students from Gaza and 3 students from West Bank through the Hope Fund program to study in USA colleges. And some of them went to Stanford and MIT as well. Marwa, next slide. EducationUSA Academy. This program is designed for high school students who plan to study in the future in the United States. And within this program, the students can join or travel to different or specific colleges where they can get more information about the application process and the campus life. And during this program, they get more information about the application process and the students' life in the United States. And when they came back, they became more committed to get more preparation to be a competitive applicants in the future. And this program, through this program, we used to send the students directly to the university. But lately, because of the pandemic, we have another program called EducationUSA Academy Connect. Can you go to the other slide, please, Marwa? It's the same component, but because of the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, the students couldn't travel to the universities in the States. That's why the program being designed to be online. And we had this summer, we had two EducationUSA Academy Connects program, and it was very successful. Hopefully in the future, we can go back to the regular EducationUSA Academy program that enables students to travel and live in campus in different colleges and universities. Maisa, we are welcome here. You are welcome here scholarship. It is an initiative by different schools and universities, about 60 colleges and universities that offer 2 annual renewable scholarship, which covers a minimum of 50% of the tuition to the selected international undergraduate students. And this scholarship is given to international students everywhere, not only Palestinian students, but any students all over the world can apply for this scholarship. You can check about this scholarship, about more information about this scholarship. If you visit www.youarewelcomehere.usa.org to know about this program. Just you can search it in Google and you will get more information about this. Marwa? We have another group. It's the same as CCC, but you know the CCC aims or target undergraduate students. This group, which is called Gaza Graduate Study Prep Group, it targets students who plan to get graduate degrees in the States, and mainly the PhD. And in Gaza, we had 2 different groups. Hopefully, we can get more fund to fund the 3rd group this year. And during this year, it is an initiative that provides help and the grants to the students to cover their testing, which are required to apply to the US colleges like TOEFL, GRE, GMAT. And we go with the students through all the application process. That means, you know, we help them getting their application ready, and we give them different training on testing, on essay writing as well, and we can put them in contact with different colleges and universities that they are interested to apply to. And this initiative, as you know, is funded by the Palestinian Affairs Unit in the US Embassy in Jerusalem. Hopefully, we can get fund for this year as well. I have in the slides 4 successful examples. For example, Ayman Nassar, who got his PhD in civil engineering recently from Utah State University. And we have Anas al-Masri, who got his master's degree from Georgetown University. And we currently have Rasha Sa'dawi, who is doing her PhD degree now in Virginia Commonwealth University. And the 4th, Sarah Al-Khatib, she received her MA in Virginia Tech in architecture. This, as just I mentioned, this is a group only for Gaza, and we been helping an amazing group. These are only 4 examples, but we have other successful examples as well. Marwa? How to connect, because, you know, I saw a question from one of the students here in the chat asking how can I connect to any EducationUSA advising center. In Palestine, we have our Education USA Advising Center located at Amidy's office in El Bira, في الوطنية building, and they have their Facebook page, which is Education USA West Bank, and we have the same website or the same Facebook for Gaza office, which is called Amidy's Education USA Education USA Gaza. And here are our contact information. If you need to be in touch with any of our Education USA staff, just please you can email us either to westbankgaza@amidis.org or EducationUSA Gaza @educationusa.org.
Thank you so much, Akram. And
You're
thank you,
welcome.
Marwa. And thank you, of course, Ellie. Before we start with Destination New York, are there any questions from the audience that we can answer? Maybe one or two questions before we invite our colleagues from New York to begin their session. Any questions?
We don't have any questions for now.
Okay, great. I think our colleagues have joined us from Study New York. And I believe you can begin the session a few minutes early, if that's okay with them.
Hi, yes, that would be great. Thank you so much.
Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us and happy International Education Week.
Great. We're happy to be here. Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
So, Sana, are you going to be sharing our slides from your end? We had, it's Marwan.
We can do that. If you prefer that we share the slides from our end, we can definitely do that. So we will do that right now.
Okay, so hello everybody and welcome. My name is Sean Sloan. I'm representing St. John's University. We're based in New York City, and I have 4 of my close colleagues on from other institutions also in New York here to talk to you today about the opportunities to study in New York. Next slide, please. So this is just myself and my colleagues. Hello, nice to meet you. We have Lena from Sarah Lawrence, Ying from Hofstra, Juanita from Pace, and Christian from Marymount Manhattan College. And again, Sean, and I'm from St. John's University. Just an overview of our presentation today. It'll be broken down into 3 main sections. We will talk just briefly about the college application process in general as an overview. We'll tell you then a bit more about New York City and why we think it is such a great place to live and study. And then at the end of the presentation, the 5 of us will each give a very brief presentation on our specific institution.
So I will take over for now. Thank you so much, Sean, and thank you, Sana and Akram, Marwa. It's been a great presentation to be part of so far. Again, my name is Lena Adeli. I am from Sarah Lawrence College in Bronxville, New York. And starting off our presentation here, I'm going to give you kind of a quick overview of U.S. college admissions. Of course, we want to keep this as interactive as possible. So please feel free to, put your questions in the chat here. You don't have to wait until the end. If questions come up and you think of things later that we talked about, please do share your questions with us. So here you'll see your toolbox for outstanding college applications. So we're thinking about the different things, whether you're a junior or you're a senior, looking at institutions in the US, there's always a lot of information that we're getting, right? And so you're getting great information from EducationUSA, perhaps you're joining virtual sessions with schools. And so some of the key things to think about that we'll go over, one being deadlines, the various platforms that schools use, the personal information that you're sharing, your transcripts, of course, so your academic evaluation, your essays, test scores, and letters of recommendation. So let's break this down. Next slide, please. So deadlines, a few things to think about. So you'll hear us say this very often, that it really depends on the school. So the most important piece of advice I can give you is, make sure that you're doing your homework in terms of checking, those schools that you're interested in. What are their deadlines? Do they have early decision versus early action? And that's something to think about. For schools that have early decision, that's a binding agreement. So ED, meaning if you apply to a school early decision, you're going to be signing something that says that you plan on attending if accepted. Then, of course, early action. So think of this as, starting from November, so almost kind of a year in making. So you're thinking about those deadlines. Do schools have regular decision or rolling admissions, which means you can apply throughout the year? And then, of course, regular decision in January, February, students are hearing back in March. In April, it's a lot of reviewing what you're doing. Finally, in May 1st is the national deposit deadline, and you're making those commitments to your schools, working with the admissions office. Finally, working on your visa paperwork, finalizing, all of that and what you need to come to the States, and then arrival in August. Next slide, please. So the different platforms. So we're seeing here the different kind of ways that different schools use their platforms to have students apply. So the common application, as the name would suggest, is the most common type. There's the Coalition app as well. Some schools might have their own application. At Sarah Lawrence, we only use Common App, but every school could have a different, their own individual one as well. For CUNY's, which is the City University of New York, they have their own platform. So those are things to think about. In many cases, students are using Common App, are applying to several schools. And so anything that makes life easier, it is recommended. So next slide, please. So what are you sharing about yourself in the application? So personal information, those are things to really think about. You want to highlight any honors you have, community service, if you have a part-time job, even if it's working with, family outside of school, you want to include those details. You want to include the amount of time that you put into certain activities. Of course, high school transcripts, we need all the years of secondary school. And then think about official versus unofficial transcripts, right? So we're thinking for most schools, official would mean that it's coming directly from that high school or guidance counselor. Many schools will take electronic transcripts, but it must come directly from your counselor or a school advisor. And then another note to think about is sometimes schools will also consider certain test scores official if it comes directly from the high school, in addition to the testing services. Next slide, please. So your essay, personal statement. So this is a really big thing that you want to make sure that you put time into. So if you're using the Common App, which I'll use as an example, so there are essay prompts that you can choose from. My advice in terms of essays is making sure that you're starting very early, because you want to write it, rewrite it, and then rewrite it again. You want to share it with a teacher or a counselor. And in many cases, those teachers or counselors have a lot of essays to read. So you want to make sure that you're giving them enough time. This is really your chance to show the admissions rep or that school about your unique personality, right? Beyond test scores, beyond your grades, your transcripts. It's a way you can tell a story about yourself. So for example, with the Common application, you're using that essay and it's going to any school that you apply to. Some schools also have an option for supplemental essays. So this is a way to show your writing strength. This is one of the ways you can use your voice by doing those additional essays if schools have that option for you. Next slide. Thank you. Standardized test scores. So test optional, test flexible, many things that we, these terms that we use, but good news is that many schools during COVID made the move to go test optional. There are many schools that have been test optional for quite some time. And so this means that for some schools, the SAT and ACT is not required. It's not required for admission or for scholarship. But make sure that you're finding out that it's both those things, right? So can you still apply for a scholarship without SAT scores? Is the program that you're going into, is that requiring SAT or ACT? And you'll hear from all of us at our different institutions examples of what our policies are, but that's something to keep in mind. So is the school that you're having on your list, the school that you're really interested in, do they require SATs or ACT? Finally, most institutions will require at least one English proficiency test. TOEFL is very common, or IELTS, and you might be familiar with Duolingo. I do see Hassam did ask about that in the chat. Is Duolingo accepted? At Sarah Lawrence College, we accept it. I think more and more schools are accepting it, and we can hear from the other teammates to find out, if their institution does as well. But it's becoming more common, and more schools are accepting it. So if you're familiar with Duolingo, it's a test that students can take from home. It's becoming more popular in the last couple of years. So for some schools, it is an option. So that's a great question, and definitely look into that. Next slide, please. All right, so your letters of recommendation, kind of winding this down, who do you want to speak on your behalf, right? What will others say about you? In many cases, schools will require the counselor, letter of recommendation, or advisor, and one or two teacher recommendations. Depending on the school, they might, if you're applying to an art program, it might be prudent of you to have a recommendation letter from an arts teacher. Some schools will allow you to do additional grades, additional recommendation letters rather. And those are things to think about. Again, you want to make sure that you're asking and making those requests of your counselor and your teachers, as early as possible. You want to give them, at least a couple of months to get your recommendation in, because again, you're most likely not the only student asking. And so make sure that you're really reaching out to those that you've known over time. I've had students ask, could I send 2 teacher recs because my school doesn't have a counselor at the time? And that's a great question. My institution is very flexible with that. So that's something you can definitely ask your school representative. All right, and I think moving on to our last slide. Fantastic. So there are about 4,000 plus schools, colleges, and universities in the United States. So a lot of choices. And it's really important that you want to think about, what are your priorities? So identifying, what are you looking for in an institution? I know we talked about this topic earlier in this presentation, but size. Do you want to go to a large research institution? Do you want to be somewhere that's middle-sized or has, small class sizes? So you want to think about the size. Of course, geography. Do you have family on the West Coast in California? Do you want to be near family? Do you want to be on the Northeast? Do you want to be near water? Do you like to experience all of the seasons? Do you want to have a winter, spring, summer, fall? And those are things to think about. Thinking about the geographical impacts and what it could also mean for your major of choice, right? And what the cost would be, the cost of living. You want to think about majors, of course, right? So you want to do your homework and make sure that, whatever it is you're interested in studying is available at the school that you're applying to. For many students, you might have interest in a lot of different things. You might be interested in a school of liberal arts and sciences. Maybe your passion really is performing arts and you're looking at schools that have great dance or music programs. Is it a place where you can apply and you're applying to the school as a whole, or are you applying individually? Those are things to think about. Then cost, of course, very important, and at what activities you're looking for. So we'll talk more about individually in our sessions, anything pertaining to our own institutions, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lena. That was great. And that's the perfect segue into the next part of the presentation. So now we're going to talk about New York City and New York State as well. So let's get to know New York City. And so we are really focusing in on the geography aspect of these things that you should be considering when looking at an institution today. So why New York? We've all heard about New York City, but let's get into it a little bit more and talk about why it's such a great place to live and to study. Next slide. So what is New York City known for? First of all, it is known for being the city of opportunity. Let's start with Wall Street, and just in terms of finance, it is one of a world leader, if not the world leader in terms of finance, but other industries and sectors as well. Everything from cybersecurity to emerging technology and healthcare, fashion, definitely, media and culture, transportation, sciences, manufacturing. New York has really opportunities for everybody in terms of employment. Next slide, please. Just to get to know New York City a little bit better in terms of the size and the landscape. So New York City is home to over 8 million people in over 5 boroughs. Borough is a term for a section of New York, much bigger than a neighborhood, though. I think people often confuse borough with neighborhood. Each borough has multiple neighborhoods and lots of things going on. So Manhattan is the center of New York City, and that is one borough. But we also have Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, and Staten Island. So it is quite a larger city than sort of what you see on TV and those typical images that we see. Next slide. So we're known for being the city of opportunity. We are also known for our arts. For sure, in terms of, famous museums, we're known for the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Guggenheim Museum, which is just so impressive. I have wonderful childhood memories of going up this incredible sort of spiraling building, and as you go up, there's famous works by Picasso, and just numerous museums, too many to mention. The Museum of Modern Art is fantastic as well. We are also the birthplace of many different types of music and have a wonderful music scene. Obviously, we're known for Broadway in terms of theater, but also have just a ton of television and film going on, and smaller, off-Broadway theaters as well, small-scale theaters. So just everything in terms of art and culture that you could be looking for. Next slide, please. We're known for our food. I'm going to tell just a very quick story about this. So I grew up in New York. I love the city. And one of the things I love most about New York is the diversity of the people, which in turn leads to diversity of food. You can find food from literally anywhere in the world. And so my quick story is just being a high school student in New York, and going to my friends' houses for lunch or for dinner. At the age of 15, I had eaten home-cooked Korean food, Colombian food, Italian, but food from all over the world. And just, you find just exciting opportunities to taste food from different cultures. Next slide, please. And for our diversity, and this is really one of the main points here, New York City is a city of diversity. I mean, it is a city made up of, primarily historically being an immigrant and migrant destination, and just being the home to the world. In a prior job, I had been working for the Department of City Planning in New York, and we were working on a bid for the 2020 Olympic Games. This was about 15 years ago. So you're preparing and trying to attract the Olympics to come to your city. And the main proposal point in our bid to get the Olympics was, of all the countries represented in the Olympic Games, all of them except for 3 are represented in our public school system, in the student body of our public schools. So of the 210, I think it was, 200 and something countries represented in the Olympics, they are also represented in the New York City public school system. And you will find that New York City is just the most welcoming place in the world for people from everywhere. If we could move on to the next slide, please. So all that said, I'm passionate about New York. It's my hometown. I love it. I encourage you all to consider it when you're considering institutions for your college application. We're waiting for you in New York. And with that, next slide. Let's get to know the institutions. So I'll pass it over to my colleague from Hofstra University.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Ying. I'm representing the Hofstra University at New York. Okay, so basically, Hofstra University is a private university which is located roughly about 25 miles away from downtown Manhattan. Actually, our university is providing free shuttles to take our students to go to Mineola and also Hempstead 2 train station. Especially Mineola is a big train station. From there, 25 minutes, you'll be in Penn Station, downtown Manhattan. So transportation-wise, it's super convenient. On top of the train free shuttle to take you to go to a train station, we also run free shuttle, we call the night shuttle, to pick you up in case you are having some events, in downtown Manhattan, or you are taking an internship in downtown Manhattan, okay? We also run every Wednesday and also weekend run that we call the shopping and entertainment shuttle. So basically, relying on public transport, you can have easy access to everything. In case you want to take a Uber or taxi from our campus to go to JFK International Airport or LaGuardia International Airport, only 30 minutes, you'll be there. So transportation-wise, it's super, super convenient. And I also want to mention the ranking. In the United States, there are over 4,000 universities. Basically, Hofstra is regarded as a tier 1 university. We do have a national ranking and also international ranking. We have 166 undergraduate programs and also 175 graduate programs options for you to consider. On top of that, we also run more than 100 dual degree programs and also 5 years accelerated programs to have a bachelor and also master degree, as well as 7 to 8 years we call it accelerated program to have a bachelor and also a GD program. So what are the popular programs for international students who would like to apply for Hofstra? Definitely, the #1 popular program at Hofstra is a business school. Our school business has over 100 different concentrations. For example, finance, marketing, management, business analytics. All those are very, very hot, majors. Business school ranks one of the top 5% in the country. We do have 2 accreditation, one in business in general and also one in accounting. So making Hofstra's business school really, really very outstanding among its peer, business schools. The second hottest, program is basically computer science and engineering. This year, according to US News, our school of computer science engineering ranks 32. So basically, we pay great attention to hands-on experience. And also, that particular school has a very unique programs called co-op to offer to our students. So what is a co-op? Co-op basically is a 7 to 8 months full-time job. Sometimes it can be extended to a year long in terms of length with industry level salary. So 90% of the students who completed a co-op program at Hofstra were landed up by having full-time job with their employer, okay? Other programs are very popular. For example, our school communication, like a radio production, film production, and journalism are very, very popular. It ranks one of the top 5 in the country. Biology, psychology, all those are very, very popular programs.
You are muted. Can you hear me?
Sorry, yeah. I do want to mention that in terms of the size of the total enrollment, the total enrollment is, our students are roughly about 11,000, but for the undergraduate population, slightly over 6,100 and roughly about 20 students based on the previous year number. Because we are private university, pretty small class size, average class size is 21 students per class. Faculty to student ratio is 1 to 13. And we are also, NCAA Division I sports team, which means we're offering a lot of athletic scholarships to our students. Actually, every year, many international students are getting athletic scholarships, for example, in basketball, in tennis, in lacrosse, and in many other, sports. 4-year housing is guaranteed on campus, although it's not required, but we do give you an option to live on campus for 4 years. And also we have single, double, triple, different kinds of rooms for you to select. More than 220 different student clubs. And also, yes, in terms of investment, the average internship our students are taking are roughly about 2 to 3 internships before they are graduating from Hofstra University. So that's why Hofstra University has a very high job placement rate. Across 166 different undergraduate programs, the average job placement rate is about 93%. Many particular programs, for example, computer science engineering, has 100% job placement rate because they're a co-op program. And the business school has a 98% job placement rate because on top of the university-wide career center, it also has its own very powerful career center to help our students to land a job. Like a biology program, especially psychology program, has a built-in internship, making it really, really outstanding in terms of helping students to get a job. So in terms of application deadlines, we do have early action 1. Basically, early action 1 deadline is today, is November 15. And we also have early action 2, deadline is December 15. After that is regular admission, and we call it rolling application. You can apply for, the university any time of the year. Just want to share with you the kind of profile of our students in the previous cycle. Our average GPA is 3.7. If you are test sending students, average SAT is 1140 to 1330, or ACT 25 to 32. Because we are taking a holistic review of your application, let's say if you have a 3.0 GPA, I still encouraging you to apply because we do, admit students at that, GPA level because we are taking a holistic review. And we also test, optional school. If you don't have SAT or ACT, that is fine as long as you are coming from English-speaking country or your previous high school, English is your teaching language. We can waive you English proficiency. In case you feel you are not very comfortable, to get directly, enrolled, at college level, classes, we do have a pathway program for you to consider. But the beauty of that is it's a credit-bearing pathway program for you to consider. Next slide, please. Yes, kind of towards the end of the session, I do want to mention we are offering very general scholarships. It's merit-based scholarships for both test sending and also test optional students. The range is from $5,000 US to up to $27,000 US per year, lasting for 4 years. And other things on this slide I've already shared with you, but I do want to mention Hofstra is very, very proud that we are the only university in the whole country to host 3 consecutive US presidential debates in 2008, 2012, and 2016. I think that's kind of end of my session. Next slide. Just want to share with you some like useful information in terms of how to contact with us. Please go to Hofstra's main web page. If you search like visit, we are running virtual events and in-person events from Monday to Saturday every single day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ying. Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning from New York. My name is Chris Andrade. I'm Dean of Admissions at Maryman Manhattan College, and I'm really happy to be here with you guys today. Next slide, please. I'm representing Maryman Manhattan College, so I wanted to give you a super brief overview of the college, a little bit of a statistics so you understand. I believe we're one of the two smallest colleges that we are represented here today. During the presentation, Maryman has roughly about 1,900 students represented at the college with 49 states within the US and 33 different countries. Close to 10% of our population is international students. We're located in the Upper East Side of New York City. Is a very beautiful area of the city of New York. We're not in the middle of the craziness that can be in Midtown with all the businesses and all the hotels and the tourists and all of that. So it's great that we have a really nice location on the Upper East Side, but you're close to everything. Outside the school, we have a subway line that takes you anywhere within Manhattan, Queens, Bronx, Staten Island as well. So very lucky to be located in the middle of New York. We have an 11-to-1 student professor ratio. The class size is something that we're very proud of. We have about 15 students or less per class. Like I said, 11-to-1 student professor ratio. Our professors are the only ones teaching classes. If you are taking a class with Professor Anna Wano for biology, and we know that she's a fantastic professor, you know she's gonna be the one in front of you during the class. We don't have TAs to teach the classes. Our professors are the ones teaching the classes. We also do research, of course, and we're very lucky that we're only undergrad. So as an undergrad student, you're able to actually do research with faculty. Another great example of being an undergrad only institution, we have a clinic for our speech pathology program. So our students are doing graduate level work with patients at an undergrad level in many of our programs as well. So it's a great environment if you're looking for that small, very interactive institution. Now, if you're looking for a location where college where you're gonna get lost and no one is gonna know your name, then definitely this is not the place that you want to be. We have about 31 different majors. We're getting approval for a few new majors as well. So we're really happy to be increasing the number of majors that we will be offering in the college. And we also have about 45 to 75 actually programs, 45 minors, and we have a bunch of different concentrations as well. 90% of the faculty has a PhD, so they are the people that are going to be teaching, like I said, the classes. Because we have so many students coming from all over the US and outside the US, most of our students live on campus. If you look at the map, I know it might be small in your screen at the moment, but the MMC circle that you have on the top of the Manhattan map, that's the location of our campus. If you go down to the second blue section with a tall building, that is our 55th Street Residence Hall. It's only about 15 minutes walk from the main campus to 55th, and you also have public transportation to get between the two locations. Our other location is downtown. If you go all the way to the bottom of the map, you see another building, blue building, that is Cooper Square, and that's where our second residence hall is located. So We go from uptown to downtown with a lot of different options for housing for our students. And as you can see on the percentages, many of our students choose to live on campus. Next slide, please. These are all the different programs that we have available. We're known for the performing arts. Those are some of the top programs that we have in musical theater, acting, dance. But we have a lot of other programs as well in the other divisions. One thing that I need to emphasize that might make us a bit different from other colleges that are talking to you today is we are a pure liberal art college, meaning if you want to be a business major, international business major, that can be your major, but you also can have double majors. You can have a major and a minor. You can have a major and concentrations. We have students that come for a biology major, and then they also do a concentration or a minor in public relations, or they take classes in philosophy and they get a concentration in philosophy. So you can mix and match a lot of the different programs that we have. In many ways, we allow you to customize the education that you want to have at MMC. All of our programs, like I said before, they're not too big, so you're gonna get to know your faculty really well, and they get to know you by name as well. And they are the best people to help you also customize your education in the way that you want. I think one of the best examples I can give you is myself. I went to a small liberal art college as well, and my major as an international student when I came to the US was international business. But I also had a concentration in marketing, a minor in Latin American studies, another minor in art as well. So that's the type of ability that you get with liberal art education, the one that we can offer you at MMC. Next slide, please. Sorry that this is looking a little funky. I wanted to talk to you guys about deadlines. We already, Lena already went through early decision, early action. So those are the dates that we have for MMC. But what I wanted to talk to you about is specifically for MMC, we're looking for students with an average of a 3.6 GPA. That's an average, so anything higher, anything lower will be welcome. We're test optional. We're one of those schools that became test optional during the pandemic. So if you have SATs or ACTs that you want to submit to us, we'll be happy to have those. If not, you don't have to submit them. Same thing with ACT, the average is at 26. Our incoming classes are small, so we're looking for 450 to 500 students to come as first-year students, transfer students as well. We're not a huge institution, so it's small classes as well. We're members of the Common App, where you can use our application as well. Similar to most other colleges that you're going to be that we're going to be talking to today, you have we need your transcripts. Test optional. If you're not from an English-speaking country, then we need TOEFL or IELTS. We also accept the duolingo scores. At least one recommendation, the essay, and the $60 application. Next slide, please. At MMC, we have a lot of different options for for scholarships for international students. Our scholarships range from $4,000 to $18,000 per year. We also offer scholarships for transfer students, and we also offer talent scholarships, meaning if you're applying for any of the theater programs or dance programs or fine art programs, you can submit, or you can do portfolio of your work. You submit that to us, we'll review it, and you can qualify for one of those scholarships as well as being admitted to the programs. The great thing about us is that we allow you to stack your scholarships. So if you get an $18,000 scholarship from the academic side, plus a $10,000 from your talent scholarship, then you get $28,000 from us. One thing that I need to talk about that is not in this slide, the cost of attending MMC is, would tend to be one of the most affordable private schools in New York City. So our scholarships might not be as high as other schools, but keep in mind that the initial cost of attending the college itself, MMC, is going to be lower than many other colleges in New York City at the moment. Next slide, please. Just visits. We have a lot of virtual opportunities. So if you want to partake on weekdays or weekend visits, please visit our website, mmm.edu/visit, and we'll be happy. Please review what we have available for virtual visits and sign up for one of them. Okay. That concludes my side of the presentation. I'm passing on to Pace.
Hello, everybody. So my name is Juanita Maya. I am the Assistant Director of Undergraduate Admission on the New York City campus at Pace, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about our university. So next slide, please. So at Pace, we have been around since 1906. We are pretty much two New York locations, and I'll touch about that in a little bit as well. But we have roughly around 8,000 students from all over. So we have about 47 states represented on campus, as well as 99 countries. So throughout our two campuses that we do have, we have a nice mix of students. We do have an average class size of 20 and a student faculty ratio of 14:1. So we do like to keep those class sizes small to make sure that you're getting that individualized attention while you are with us. So next slide, please. One of the ways that we do that individualized attention and experience at Pace is through something that we call the Pace Path. And so you are going to create the Pace Path when you first come in during your first year. And this is going to be essentially your roadmap to get you from your point A, which is that freshman year, to point B, and that's graduation. And whether that's your dream job, med school, law school, whatever it is that you want to be doing while you're done at Pace, right? And so are you going to participate in research experiences? Are you going to participate in international conferences or volunteer with us? Are you going to be part of our mentor and advisor program? Are you going to go do 1, 2 internships while you are with us? But not only is all of the kind of like fun stuff that you're going to be doing while with us a part of it, but also the academics. So you're going to decide whether you're just going to have one concentration as far as your major goes, or are you going to do a minor? Maybe you're going to do a double major while you're with us, or even a 5-year program. And so a lot of that you work on while you are creating your PACE path. Next slide, please. So when you are creating your PACE path, we do have 6 different schools of study for you to consider. So we do have our College of Health Professions, which houses our nursing and health science programs, our Dyson College of Arts and Sciences that houses our Performing Arts School, as well as our visual arts, everything from criminal justice, all of our natural sciences like biology, chemistry, environmental science, psychology, philosophy, all of those majors live there. We do have our Lubin School of Business, which houses all of our marketing, finance, management majors, a School of Education that houses early childhood, and adolescent education, and then our Seidenberg School of Computer Science and Information Systems, which houses all of our tech majors like cybersecurity, information systems, information technology, all of those. And then we do have a law school for students that are interested in pursuing law. So if you come into PACE as an undergraduate student, students are welcome to do a 3-in-3 program, so 3 years of undergraduate, 3 years of law school. Students are done a lot faster. It's 6 years instead of 7. So through all of those schools that I mentioned, we do have over 100 majors, accelerated and combined degree programs as well for our students to participate in, as well as those minors. And you are always welcome to kind of go across different schools if you did want to do several things. Next slide, please. Our other thing is we do have a really great internship program while you are with us at the university. So you start as early as your first year to work with our career services office to make sure that our students are getting out there, they're getting their hands dirty, they're going and they're doing internships. So you have to do a resume writing workshop and an interview skills workshop that first year. Without those two things, they will not let you onto the system. So they want to make sure that you know how to shake the hand and answer the where you see yourself in 5 years question, but also they want to make sure that your resume is spotless, so it's getting pulled out of the pile. So they do work with you to kind of prep you for all of that, and then hopefully make it sure that you are successful during your interviews, so you're going to get that internship that you want. We have internship and career fairs 4 times at the university, so 2 in Westchester and 2 in New York throughout the year. So they like to keep the students involved. And then we also have smaller events that our students get emails depending on their major so that they can find out that so-and-so companies on campus for them. On average, PACE students are doing about 4 internships during their time at PACE. So our students are relatively keeping busy and making sure that they're getting out there and getting that experience. Next slide, please, while they are with us. Here's an example of some of the places where our students have interned this past year. One of the things that I always like to point out to students is the nice mix of places that students are interning. So we have places like fashion houses like Dolce & Gabbana and Paramount Pictures and hospitals, magazines, you know, all of the nice mixture that we have for our students to intern. So our students are really going out there and doing great things while they are with us. Next slide, please. So we do have 2 campuses, like I mentioned earlier. We have a campus in New York City. We're located in downtown Manhattan. We're about a 5-10 minute walk from Wall Street. We are right about 4 blocks from the World Trade Center. We're right across the street from City Hall. We're right at the foot of the Brooklyn Bridge. So we are actually kind of located right here. If you see my background, you'll see me pointing. We're kind of located right there. This is actually the view of one of our residence halls. So on our New York City campus, we do have 4 residence halls available for students to reside in. This campus has about 6,000 undergraduate students and about 3,000 graduate students on its campus. And then that student faculty ratio and average class size does stay the same as I mentioned earlier. And then our Westchester campus is located 45 minutes north of the city. This is our more traditional college campus. So this is the one that I always recommend to students that want to get that traditional college experience in the US, but still be really close to New York City. So not only do we have the Metro North, which is the New York train system that stops near PACE, students are welcome to take that. We also have our own shuttle that goes between the 2 campuses several times during the day. So students are able to come into the city, into the other campus, and use that as their transportation into the city for jobs, internships, whatever it may be, or you're welcome to take classes on the New York City campus as well. Our Westchester campus is home to about 3,000 undergraduate students and about 1,000 graduate students, and we have 5 residence halls up on our Westchester campus. Next slide, please. So PACE is definitely more affordable than you think. We try as best as we can to make it affordable for our international students. So upon the point of admission, you are given a merit scholarship. So next slide. Our merit scholarship is anywhere from 10,000 to 29,000. It is based off of your GPA or your GPA and your SAT scores. So we are a test optional institution. So you are welcome to submit those test scores to us. And then this scholarship is yours for the time that you are with us, as long as you maintain full-time status and whatever GPA is associated with your scholarship. And then just to tell you a little bit about our admission process. So we do, as I mentioned, we are, I should say, test optional. So you're welcome to submit your SAT scores if you would like. However, we do not require them, but as many as the other universities do, we do require an English proficiency exam. So either that TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo would be great. The minimum for the TOEFL is an 80. For the IELTS, it is a 6.5. And for the Duolingo, it is a 105 that we are looking for. In regards to admission, our average GPA is about a 3.3 on a 4.0 scale here in the US. That is an 88 on a 100-point scale for the US. And then we do have either the Common App that you can apply with or the PACE app, either one, we have no preference. We're going to need 2 letters of recommendation, your personal statement and your transcript for your high school years so that we can get you into the university. And then we do have a deadline. So our early action 1 deadline is actually today. And then our early action 2 deadline is December 1st. And then if you're interested in our performing arts program, it is December 15th. That is a very hard deadline. So if you miss that deadline, they won't let you audition. So keep that in mind. And then our regular decision and nursing deadlines are February 15th. Next slide, please. And here is the contact information for the international office. So if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. If you're interested in an undergrad program, be sure to email us at intladm@pace.edu. And then for graduate, it's intlgradadmission@pace.edu. So now I'm going to hand it off to my next colleague.
Hi, everyone. Lena here again. Thank you for staying with us. I'm just going to give you a brief overview about Sarah Lawrence College. So Sarah Lawrence, we are a School of Liberal Arts and Sciences. We're started off as an all-women's school in 1926. And then in the 60s, we became co-educational. Next slide, please. So Sarah Lawrence, location-wise, so we are not directly in New York City. So we're just outside of New York in a town called Bronxville. So when we talk about the location of Sarah Lawrence, I like to say that it's best of both worlds. So our campus, where Bronxville is, there's a lot of things in walking distance. The commuter train station is about 10-minute walk, and we have just about 30 minutes into Manhattan. So, and there's bookstores and coffee shops, and the town that borders Sarah Lawrence on the other side is called Yonkers, and that's actually where I grew up. And Yonkers is the 3rd largest city in New York State. So here you can see a photo of all of our, a few of our students at our environmental center on the Hudson River. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the newest building on campus. It's the Barbara Walters Campus Center. So I just wanted to share this. So Barbara Walters is an alum of Sarah Lawrence, and this is one of my favorite spots on campus. There's a lot, it's all open. There's a gallery upstairs, and students are constantly coming through and walking around. There's art exhibits, it's a great spot on campus. I will share as well that we're about 1,400 undergrad students, and students at Sarah Lawrence come from close to 50 states, including Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico. And we have students from nearly 50 countries. So it's very diverse. So students from around the world come together to make, a warm, safe and inclusive environment, at Sarah Lawrence. Next slide, please. All right, so this is one of our theaters outside. So Sarah Lawrence is really known for our creative and performing arts. This is the Remy Theater. We have 4 theaters on campus. And what's really unique about Sarah Lawrence is that we have students that are studying theater, but they're also studying biology. And we have students that are studying music, but they're also studying international relations. We like to refer to our students as hyphenates. This means that we have writing, biologists and writers. We have musical environmentalists. We have creative writing dancers. So Sarah Lawrence really is that mix. Next slide, please. And so what's really unique about Sarah Lawrence is that we don't have declarations of majors. Instead of majors, we have what's called concentrations. So this is really, really unique to Sarah Lawrence. We have a completely open curriculum. Students design and navigate their own educational platform for all their 4 years under the guidance of what we call a Don, your advisor. This is a photo of the most common type of classroom at Sarah Lawrence. So capped at 15 students, on average 12, and working with open discussion-based classroom and small class sizes. Sarah Lawrence students meet with their professors every other week as well, working on a long-term conference project. Next slide, please. So that's just a little bit about, and next one, I doubled up there. So about 85% of students do live on campus. There's a lot of life on campus, over 100 student-run clubs. More than half of our student body, but more than 50% do an international exchange program of sorts. And so what's really unique too about Sarah Lawrence is, we are known for creative writing. We have one of the largest creative writing programs in the country. We're highly regarded in terms of the arts, but if you apply to Sarah Lawrence, you're applying to the school as a whole, and you can take courses in any discipline. So whereas you can submit a portfolio for art, it's not required to take a class in art or have art as one of your concentrations. Next slide, please. We also do have Division III athletics, so a lot that's going on campus. We have equestrian and fencing, and we have swimming and basketball and soccer. So it's a very lively community. And next slide, please. Just some photos here. So finally, the admissions process. It's very holistic, which means that we care to know everything we can possibly know about our applicants. So we really want our students to share about themselves. So we have, of course, the requirements. We want your transcripts, and we want your essay, and we want your recommendations, but we also have a lot of room for optional art supplements and things like that. And then finally, we do have scholarships and financial aid for international students. And I will put my email in the chat, so if you have questions about that, but I want to make sure I leave time for Sean and for questions, so we can move on. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lena. Again, my name is Sean Sloan. I'll just be brief and tell you a little bit more about St. John's University. We are located in New York City, but I'll just pause for a second and say, does that look like New York City to you? So no, it's that big college campus that you would picture more outside of a city. And the way we are able to do that is, as I mentioned before, New York is made up of 5 boroughs. We are in Queens, New York, one of the outer boroughs of New York City, in a much more residential neighborhood. So similar to what Lena was saying, at St. John's, you also really get that best of both worlds in terms of location. You get the big, green, safe college campus, but very well connected to the center of New York City. Next slide, please. Just to place us on the map, this is the New York City subway map, or the metro system. So St. John's campus, the main campus, is out here in Queens, New York. This, again, is part of New York City, but not right in the center. And so for some people, that is ideal. For others, not so much. So you have to think about, am I the kind of person who wants to wake up in the center of a city every day? Or do I want to have access to the city, but the bigger campus space? So yes, that is our main campus. We do have a small campus right in central Manhattan, but it is just for our business school. A small campus in Staten Island as well. But it's okay, we can go ahead. I recommend all students who are interested apply to the Queens campus. That is where you will find the vast majority of this, our 100+ undergraduate programs. So we're a large university. We offer over 100 undergraduate majors. They're broken down. They're from these 5 different colleges. So our main college is our College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. We are also a liberal arts university. I won't get into it since some of my colleagues already did, but all students are, regardless of major, required to take 8 courses, which are core curriculum in liberal arts, and then you focus in on your major. So you can major in any science, any liberal arts majors, but also pharmacy and health sciences. We have a College of Professional Studies, which has programs like hospitality management, cybersecurity, and things like that. A School of Education where students learn to be teachers, and a wonderful College of Business as well. Some of just undergraduate programs that I would like to just mention and feature would be environmental sustainability and decision making. So you want to fight global warming. We have a whole bachelor's degree shaped around that. We also have game development and emerging media. So down here on the bottom of the screen, for those of you who dream of designing video games for a living, an entire bachelor's degree dedicated to that as well. We also, again, have all the typical majors, and some of the most popular recently have been computer science, this wonderful program, cybersecurity systems, IT, information technology, also fashion, being in New York, and just much more, sports management. We can move on. While we're moving on to the next slide, I'll just mention that we also have a presence in Europe. We have a wonderful campus in Rome, Italy, as well as in Paris, France. I highly encourage all of you to consider our program where you can start in Rome before going on to New York. So you do a semester in Rome, Italy, and then move on to New York City. What could be better than that? Let's move on to the next slide. Thanks. Again, what I want to say here is, does that look like New York City to you? Well, it is. But again, we're based in Queens, New York. We have this wonderful campus. It is over 100 acres. It is a huge space, sports fields, people eating outside, clubs, activities. This building behind them is a dormitory, a residence hall, so you have an option to live on campus if you'd like. Next slide, please. Being based in New York City, and some of my other colleagues have talked about this as well, we have incredible internship partners and employers that we work with. So we're great about getting students internships and assisting with job placement. These are just some of the very many companies that we do work with for our students. And our students are very happy. And these are class of 2020 outcomes. So during the pandemic, we have over 96% of our graduates recommending St. John's, any one of our locations, and nearly 90% reporting that they've been hired or enrolled in a master's program, graduate level program within 6 months of graduating from their undergraduate program. In other words, students are moving on with their lives in productive ways very quickly after graduating from the university. And I'm sure a similar number could be said about all of the other institutions that are on the call today. Let's move on to the next slide. A bit about our admissions process. So we accept the Common App as well, but we also have our own St. John's application online. You can just go to stjohns.edu and look under application. The undergraduate application is free of charge. There is no fee to apply. We also accept rolling admission, so there's really no deadlines to apply. There are early decision and early action deadlines, of course, but if you'd just like to apply regular admission, again, there is no deadline. Now, it is a good idea to get applications in by, say, April at the very latest. You need time for us to review it, for you to deal with your visa process and everything else that goes into making a decision. And just note that a couple of our programs do have deadlines, these ones listed here. Our application is fairly straightforward and easy. The only thing that is 100% required other than your personal information are your high school transcripts. We do need 4 years of transcripts. Then we are test optional, so we will not require the SAT or ACT, but if you do not submit one, we do require one of the English language proficiency exams. We accept TOEFL, IELTS, and Duolingo. The personal essay and the letters of recommendation are now considered optional. I highly recommend submitting them, but they're not required. Next slide, please. Thank you. We are extremely generous with scholarships, and I'm almost at the end of my presentation. I would like to leave some time for questions at the end as well. I see that we are nearing the end of the allotted time, but we consider all applicants, including international applicants, for merit-based scholarship. So that is automatically awarded to you with your decision letter to the university. So all applicants are eligible for merit scholarship, and we're quite generous with it as well. Merit scholarship ranges from $10,000 per year to full tuition coverage. Full tuition is quite rare and competitive. The average, largest scholarships that are given out more frequently are about 2/3 tuition, or about $30,000 per year. We do offer other scholarships. I encourage all students to look into additional scholarships for each university. We have some scholarship programs like Ozanam Scholars, which is a group of students who are dedicated to solving real world issues and basically meet each week. If you do, you have to apply to that program. If you get in, it's an additional $10,000, which can be combined with the merit scholarship. Next slide, please. So thank you all for your time today. We really appreciate it. It has been quite a pleasure being with you here today. This is my email. I'll put it in the chat as well, but thank you again for your attention.
Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your information about undergraduate study and about your respective universities and colleges. We really appreciate it. And thank you so much to our virtual audience who had quite a few interesting questions. And thank you for answering many of those questions for our virtual audience on the chat. As well as our audience at America House Jerusalem. Thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to you continuing with us in the next week or two and sharing the information and learning more about study opportunities in the US through our programming that we'll be offering for West Bank and for Gaza and Jerusalem. So thank you, everyone, and hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you.